So how many of you have heard the term sequestration? Okay. How many of you know what it actually means? Yeah. Well, let me try to explain this with another question. How many of you have ever tried to lose weight? Yeah, don't be shy. We've all been there. Well, imagine that you met this magical weight loss genie, and he said to you, I'm going to help you lose all the weight you want. But there's one catch. You have to lose it equally along your whole body. So if you want to lose 2 pounds here, you have to lose 2 pounds in your ear. Now you might say to that, magical weight loss genie, that's ridiculous. Because I don't care if my ear looks good in a swimsuit. I want this to look good in a swimsuit, right? Well, we're laughing because this sounds ridiculous, but this is exactly what sequestration is. It is Congress asking the federal government to lose weight all over the place, regardless of whether you are the Department of Education or the Department of Defense. So what I want to talk to you about more specifically today is the effects of sequestration on our ability to explore Earth and beyond. Because politics has always been part of exploration. If we look at the Apollo program, that had very little to do with lunar science, but it had everything to do with beating the Soviets in a Cold War. In fact, there was only ever one scientist on an Apollo mission, and it was the last Apollo mission. Decades later, things didn't really improve. Congress tried to cancel the International Space Station many times, and the only reason why it orbits today is because the Clinton administration made it central to its foreign policy objective of engaging the Russians in a post-Cold War era. Now, I could go on with many more examples of this, but my point is that if we continue to ignore the role of politics in exploration, if we continue to be unaware of things like sequestration, our exploration programs are at risk. So what can you do? Well, if you're a scientist, you can give talks like this. If you're a parent, you can inspire your child to be tomorrow's explorers. If you're anybody else in this room, you can write to your elected officials and remind them that science and exploration, that innovation, goes hand in hand. Now these things, they're not easy. They take time, they take effort. We're busy people. We have conferences in Hawaii to go to. But at the end of the day, it is up to us to remember what JFK said 50 years ago, that when we choose to explore, when we choose to do these things, we do them, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Judges, are you ready?
So, Department of Defense. Just kidding. That's great. How do you see the sequester playing out? How do you see? I mean, if you can read into the crystal ball of our wonderful government, how do you see that one playing out in the next few months?
Well, I'm not going to pretend to predict what Congress will do. But as one example, so the sequester is an across-the-board cut, 5%, no matter what. So one example, at NASA, the science budget, 5% of that is about $250 million. The Discovery program, which if you aren't aware of it, it's a program for kind of cheap missions into the solar system to discover new things. That program is only $200 million. So what you're going to see is these federal agencies that are going to have to cut big programs that are pushing the frontiers of what we know in order to account for things like sequestration. So unfortunately, I think that is going to be the way forward.
So I work at National Geographic, and we totally believe in getting out and exploring. You talked about the importance of exploring, but I'm curious how you would respond if I ask, what do we lose when we stop exploring?
Well, I think it depends who you talk to, but if you talk to someone like Carl Sagan, for example, he would talk more, I think, about this basic human desire to explore. If you look at our past, we've always gone out there and explored. So one thing you lose is this sort of what makes us human. We want to go out and explore. The other side of it is a more practical sense. So if you want to go on the internet tonight and look on the NASA website, they have this book, which I think is actually called Spin-Offs. And so it's all the spin-offs that NASA has has produced over the years. And you'll get a very good sense of the things we'll lose then, the practical aspects of the research that people like, agencies like NASA do that get transferred to the public. There are types of research that you can only do in space, for example. We look at bacteria and viruses and how they react in zero gravity, and they behave differently. And when we study them, we can learn more about them and learn better ways of fighting them. So there's a whole variety of things that we would lose.
I'm ready to write the letter. Okay. What I need from you is a one-liner, something really pithy, 50 words or fewer, just.
That you could write to your congressman?
Yeah, what's that one-liner that we should put in there that will convince Congress to support science?
Well, I would say, if you look at, like Trish was saying, with our iPhones, things come out of exploration that you don't expect. Things come out of science research that you don't expect, that is now embedded in our everyday lives. And if we don't, as a government, as people, push that basic research, that basic exploration, we're going to lose things that we can't even think of in the future right now, things that our children will not have.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Megan.